make those 6 wards safer by working closely with the police, but also empowering the people of Minneapolis. In the past 2 years, I've worked on a project that actually can testify to that. I set up the safety center in Cedar Riverside. I was one of the people that set up the safety center within the Cedar Riverside housing complex. The safety center is a space within the plaza that is operated by the police in conjunction with the community. So the community elders, the young, the old can use this space working with the police and addressing certain issues that we have. That safety center and the project that we put in place has brought down crime to a very, very low level in the housing complex, which has approximately 5,000 people. So today we don't have a lot of issues with muggings or burglaries or crime against our elders because of the safety center. That's the type of project that I would like to extend to all the neighborhoods of Minneapolis in general, but also specifically. Thank you.
In Cedar Riverside, I was the one who campaigned this one, and Mr. Osame wasn't there, or he wasn't the board chair of Cedar Riverside neighborhood or Cedar Riverside community coalition. So it was a collectively, and he wasn't there. So I'm sorry he's taking credit of that one. But I will work closely with the police, and I will ask the city to get us some more police and work with the community. I used to walk the neighborhood with elders to reduce the crime and talk to the youth about the crime, and just go back home and read books instead of standing outside and making some problem. That was then. And now it will be bigger than that if I'm elected.
Oh, leadership. Ugh, that's why you guys are looking at me funny. Yep. Who's a mediator? Yep, it's all about relationships. Leadership skills. I want to know what kind of relationship skills we have. Clearly, we're talking about leadership skills. Here we go.
Yeah, that's very good. What kind of skill leadership you need? Number one, follow the rule. Don't do what you do. Just follow the rule like what people agree. Number one, follow the rule. As you see, everybody should follow the rule. When we agree something, everybody should follow the rule. Number one. Number two, you have to be mediated. You have to work with all the people, not only one ethnicity. We're all the same neighborhood. We want a better neighborhood, better housing, better security. I think we need someone who can work everybody. I'm working the last 8 years, everybody, and that's what everybody should do it, okay? And please, check the record. If you have the position, if you're running now, we check the record. What you did before, that's what you're going to do in the future. Thank you.
Prepared question. Please tell us what makes the 6th Ward of Minneapolis one of the most incredible places in this city. And we will start with Mr. Addo.
6 It is very incredible. It's not something that started now. Back in 60s, we used to have the car train. It's a place that used to be the house of the hippies back then. And now we have the train, and we have every ethnicity that you want. And we have a lot of good food there too. So it's a very incredible place, and that's where I live, and that's where I've been living for the last 10 years. And it's very incredible, and that's why everybody's trying to move to Ward 6 now.
I want to say I love the way this question is worded. Why is the 6th Ward an incredible place? Because there are people who live in other parts of the city that don't see this as an incredible place. But I think that we as residents of the 6th Ward recognize it. There is so much good going on here. I'm a very asset-based worker. That means I recognize the strength and assets within the community, and I would say hands down what makes this place incredible are the people here. We have an incredibly diverse population. We have neighborhoods that have been gateways to new arrivals and immigrants for over a century. We come together, we establish our part of the culture, and that adds to the rich fabric of city life here in the 6th Ward, and it is incredible. And I think more and more people are beginning to recognize it as an incredible place to do business. We're right next to downtown. We are one of the best served communities by transit. We have incredible diversity of people, cultures, businesses, amenities, and I think this is an incredible place.
The United Nations, as you see, this is the neighborhood you can find out any ethnicity, and I think it's a time for Ward 6 to elect a Somali candidate. And it will be better, I'm sure of that. And one more unit also, as you know, we have the most bike in the United States, especially Ward 6 Greenway, we have 5 Mile Greenway, so it will be a great place to live, different ethnicity. I think it's time to accept it, different ethnicity to take the leadership, not only to the resident and immigrant, but I hope they will show the record. It's time for elected new candidate. Thank you.
Beautiful. It's not just its parks. We have a lot of the parks in the city of Ward 6. It's not its institutions like St. Mary's or Fairview or Oxbow College. It's its people. I remember Mayor Artie Ryback describing Cedar Riverside and parts of Ward 6 as the Ellis Island of Minnesota. All communities and different immigrant groups have lived there, have established themselves in Ward 6. And the East Africans and the current communities are just part of that history. So that's what makes Ward 6 beautiful. It is the Ellis Island of Minnesota, and it should be recognized for that. And what makes it more beautiful is my home. It's where I live, and it's where I feel the most comfortable. That's Ward 6. Thank you.
All been waiting for. We're going to go ahead and give the candidates your questions. If you have some cards that you filled out and you've been waiting to pass them in, please go ahead and raise them above your head now so that we can come grab them. Look at all those cards. Very exciting. Yes. Or I'm happy to hand some out from here. If you do think of questions as we're going through these and want to fill out a card, go ahead and just put it over your head and folks will make sure that they get your questions.
Did I miss anybody?
One more.
One more behind you.
Thank you, Madam.
I see a hand raised. While we're taking a look at some of these, I just want to explain something on the agenda to you. Numbers 9 and 10. I'm going to actually wander around behind the candidates with this microphone because it sounds like a lot of folks are having trouble with some of the wired mics and some feedback, and it seems like this one's a little bit better. But we're still going to go in our magic order. So for the first audience question, we're going to start with Mr. Lilligren. Now see how am I going to remember my order without my magic piece of paper? All right, so we're going to start with Mr. Lilligren, and the question is, how will you represent the original people of these neighborhoods, the Native Americans who are not immigrants?
So I'm a tribal member. I'm a member of the White Earth Band of Ojibwe, through my father, through my grandmother. My father grew up in the Loring Park neighborhood. My grandmother made it to Minneapolis because she was on what was called the Federal Worker Relocation Program that brought Native people here to work for sub-market wages and then kind of abandoned them when the work dried up. And that was the foundation for a lot of the urban ills that you see in the Native community. And whether it's natives or any group that has been withheld from the decision-making tables from the halls of power, it's about creating access for a community that may feel disempowered, a community that may be suffering from cultural trauma, from centuries of deprivation, from having a culture obliterated. And it's not just American Indians that aren't considered immigrant communities. There were people brought here from Africa as slaves, and their descendants are here. They didn't choose to come here for a better life. It's a similar story. But for the Native American thank you, sorry.
I will represent everybody, not only Indian, but also if I come city council, I will represent everybody, not only Indian or immigrant or African American or whoever it is. I'm the candidate. If I get elected, I will stand and advocate for all, for better neighborhood, better for all. So, and I think if I give you a little bit example, a lot of accidents happened before. And someone driving car hit someone native Indian. And what we did is we bring it together to community. We tell them those can happen always, and we bring it together, listen to each other, and we solve the problem. So the key point here is to bring all the neighbors better understanding, and we can solve any problem. Thank you.
More access, just like Robert said. They need to be given more opportunities. And I would say I will learn from the Native community. I want to learn from their leaders. I want to learn their culture, their history, and the grievances that they hold within the city of Minneapolis. And it's unfortunate that Robert has been there for 12 years, and the inequalities and the poverty and the problems of the Native American community has actually increased over the last decade. So I don't think you're going to be able to pull out some new tricks. But I will do my best to learn from the Native community, to get to know their leadership, to understand them more, and to ask them what is it that they want from the city council member, for Ward 6, and from the city's government as a whole.
Could you pause?
Community. The city council has not done well for them, and I think just because you have native blood does not mean you're able to address the issues. And I will do my best to represent them and everybody else in Ward 6 equally.
This country I was all owned before, and we are all immigrants, and I will work with them closely, very closely, same as the other. And as I said, I'm the united. I'm uniting all communities, and I'll work them closely. So, and if I'm elected, I am the representative of everybody in this district. So, thank you.
What do you see as one of the most important fixes or needs for Ward 6? And this goes to Mr. Colley first.
I think what is the need of, it's not only one thing. It need housing, better housing for all. It need good jobs. It need business people to get loans and helping them to create. I think it needed what I stand for, advocating always for education, employment, housing, and a safe neighborhood. That's what they need, and that's what I'm working with, not only me, but also I will work with other 13 city councils to make sure they support us what our need is. And I think that will bring to good answer if you guys vote me for November 5. Thank you.
I have to choose one thing to fix is jobs. Most of the people in Ward 6, especially the immigrant community, are either unemployed or underemployed. And what we need to do is create jobs that give them a livable wage. And one of the biggest problems that we have is education, but education in terms of vocational training programs. We need the city to develop better vocational training programs that are tailor-made to specific communities. I think that's the one way that we can get out of the malaise that we're in. Because if people don't have jobs, and they can't put food on the table, they're not going to have hope, they're not going to be able to become good citizens, they're not going to participate in this great democracy that we have, and they're not going to fulfill their potential. And I think the number one thing we need to fix are jobs.
It's going to be more than 20, but the number one is employment, housing, and safety, and also unity. Thank you.
There are a lot to choose from, but if I had to pick sort of one primary fixes or needs, I guess I would say that it's equity. And by equity, I mean equity and fairness, that this part of the city is treated as if it matters as much as any other part of the city. And the activism that led me into public life was around equity and justice, environmental justice, social justice, economic justice. Environmental justice, I think, for us means we're a part of the city that's been polluted on a lot. There's contamination throughout. There are decisions going to be made about increasing garbage burning downtown that'll drop a bunch of contaminants on it. Economic equity means that people that I represent deserve to start a business if that's what they want to do, employ other people, be prepared to take jobs that the city helps create. And I think that also in the streets and roads and sidewalks and bridges here, they need to be invested to the same level as any other part of the city.
Sorry, I have lots of piles. Our third question for the candidates starts with Mr. Warsami, and the question is, what is your opinion of same-sex marriage?
My opinion of same-sex marriage, can you talk to that?
Is that an issue? Is that a citywide issue? I mean, isn't there a state law to protect that, so wouldn't that be outside the purview?
Thank you.
What's the question? So the original question was, what is your opinion of same-sex marriage? And I believe the audience member has stated what the audience feels by majority to be accurate and true and what they would like for this forum. Is there anyone who disagrees with that?
We didn't hear it.
He said it was a state law.
Why don't you go on?
State law.
He said it's not a citywide issue.
Well, excuse me, the city has taken a stand and took it to the Supreme Court, taken the Supreme Court of the state around the issue of domestic partnership. State law can be repealed. A city may have to be the place where it's protected. And that's what has happened over, there were people who tried to be married in the city before. So I think it is an appropriate.
It's a valid question.
But when you say, what's my opinion, I mean, what do you mean?
How do you feel about it?
I feel like everybody else. I have no problem with same-sex marriage. It's the law of the land. And once in America, you're given a right. That right is usually never taken back. So in terms of respecting the law that has been passed in August, I respect it fully, just like any other citizen. That's my opinion.
Adam next.
It's a very touchy question, but we live in America and everybody has the right to do whatever they want. But my opinion, as Abdi, marriage is a man and a woman, between man and a woman. But everybody has entitled to choose whatever they want. Thank you.
As I'd rather say it, marriage equality. I supported it for quite a while. I was very active working on both constitutional amendments campaigns last year, working against the marriage amendment and working against the voter ID amendment. It's interesting to note that in Ward 6, which is the first ward to ever elect an out-gay council member, which was Brian Coyle, 4 of the 9 precincts voted for the constitutional ban on marriage equality. And so I think that shows evidence of a shifting population. And as someone, a gay man who has been out since I was in high school in the mid-70s, I've seen this progression of sort of awareness, tolerance, and then acceptance. And I think there are communities within the 6th Ward that are more in an awareness place. Well, I think the broader community in Minnesota is more in the acceptance place. And I think it's important to have an all-gay man as a city council member, an authority figure, and helping to lead this community along that progression.
As everybody know, my name is Mohammed Ahmed Ali. Alhamdulillah, everybody know we're Muslim, and I didn't see religion where he's talking about those rules. So where I stand or what I believe as a family value, I believe marriage should be man and woman. And other rule they pass in the state or federal, I think the rule is a rule. But as a Muslim, no, I don't support it. No way.
Our fourth question for the candidates is, to each candidate, what will you do to make sure Minneapolis gets its fair share of federal and state money? And this goes to Mr. Addo first.
Entitled to go somewhere else.
Funds flow to the city of Minneapolis through on the state and federal level down a bunch of different pathways. Some are transportation related, some are housing related, some are health related. Very few are fully discretionary, where the city gets to choose 100% what to do with them. In my time on government, we've seen this breakdown of the agreement between local government, state government, and federal government, where money goes upward, but it doesn't come back down to the state level. In a lot of ways, what I can do as a city council member, and we can do as a city, is advocate at the state and federal level for adequate revenues, adequate money being collected and then distributed back to the states so that we can, or back to the cities directly, so that we have decision-making power over the tax dollars that we're generating here. And decision-making power isn't going to the state capitol or to Washington, D.C., where they can't make very many decisions at all. So I would advocate for adequate funds and greater local control of those funds.
What will you do to make sure Minneapolis gets its fair share of federal and state money?
I think that need leadership when it comes to the money, state level and federal level, especially South Minneapolis. We see a lot of problem, especially the housing, because there's no money there, state and federal. Also employment. So I think if money it come and solving our issue, we advocate, and I think I will advocate make sure that money come Ward 6, so people can have a better housing and better job to create and better education. So the state and federal, I will work very hard that money to come Ward 6.
Critical skills and the wherewithal and understanding the needs of your constituency and relay that back to the state and federal government. Currently, the only candidate here that has the endorsement of Congressman Keith Ellison is Abdi Wassam. The only person who has the endorsement of Governor Dayton is Abdi Wassam. So you have to have those kind of principles. And as a first-time candidate, if I could get the endorsement and the respect and the support of our federal and state governments, I think as a council member, I will be in a good position to bring the resources necessary and the resources that are needed by our constituency in Ward 6. So that's what you need. You need political skills, you need toughness, and you have to understand what your constituency and what your ward needs and what your city needs.
That differs, let me know, otherwise that's what I'm going to go with. All right. So our next question goes to Mr. Lilligren first, and the question is, what is the best communication style to meet the residents of Ward 6?
With the diversity in Ward 6, there isn't just one size fits all communication style, and I think communication needs to be very tailored to the people that you're trying to communicate with. I think one of the things that's really required is being present, being in communities with people, whether that's as small as a block club or a Minneapolis Public Housing High-Rise Project Lookout group or resident council. I've made it a priority to, through my staff, really reach into communities that I normally wouldn't have access to. On my staff, I have one Mexican-born person who's a proficient Spanish speaker. I have a Somali-born person who can give me reach into the Somali community. I also have 2 Somali interns in my staff, because I think it's very important to get to communities where they are and not to expect communities to come to me, and to be able to communicate with communities across language barriers and in very culturally specific ways, and that's what I've tried to do with my staff.
Education, and they feel I'm undergraduate for international relations. That need is education to understand when it comes to communication. Also, Robert said present, and also and participate. Also, advocate. You have to work hard, be able to bring it together. And they have to accept that they're different, and they have to work together and make a difference. I think communication is the key. That's where everything starts. If we don't communicate well, we never understand each other. So I hope people will communicate better.